Hello. Waiting for others to join. Hello. Let's see here. All right. We're working. All right. Let's see. See if we can get one. Let's see. No. Hmm. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Just working out some technical things here just to get Dr. Betrell on. Let's see. Yes, there's a way to add you, but I don't know if you have a block on that people can't add you without permission or tag you without permission. So the reason I can't add you, I can add everybody else who's viewing except you. When I look at this, it doesn't give me the option to add you. Yes, so hmm. I'm coming, guys, with Thoughtful Thursdays. I'm just waiting for us to try to get away for Dr. Petrell to get in, add it to the live. Um, but I appreciate everyone. Waiting for a couple of more people to get on before I get started. Um, and then we'll go from there. Let's see here. There we go.
Hey, I'm here. I have to do it from my phone.
Okay. All right. So at least we know you hear some echo. I don't know why that echo happened,
Because
but
I had my
Because I
computer
had
on.
my
So,
computer on.
oh wait,
So,
it's still an
oh wait,
echo.
it's still an echo.
Not sure what's going
Not
on
sure what's
now.
going on now.
I wonder why it does that. That
Let me
feedback.
try.
Let me try.
I'm gonna try from my other
I'm gonna try
phone.
from
Hold
my
on.
other phone. Hold on.
All these technical
And we're waiting
These
for some more
difficulties.
technical
viewers to
difficulties.
come in. So if you guys like that are on here, if you can share that this is live, so that more people can view and we can get started, that will be great. Um,
You're gonna have to add me again.
You're going to have to add me again.
okay, you want me to exit you out first? Let me exit you out first. Let's see here. Press the Vegas. Oh, it's not working. Oh, for like. She just has to join back in. All right, we're still waiting for some viewers. Diana Patrol, you've already added, so you may be able to just come back in. Oh, I see you in here. But it's not, now it's not. What is this? You're invited. Can't hear. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. There we go.
Is there echo?
You're,
I
it's
do
slight,
hear an
but it's not
echo.
as much.
I need some headphones. Give me a second.
Okay. Translate that. Thank you for everyone who's being patient. And thank you for everyone who's joined so far. We're waiting for a couple more people so that we can get started. If you'd like, you can share this to your pages so that we can spread the talk to uh, the group, a bigger group of people, a large group of people, so that everybody can kind of get the message. Since we're going to be talking about therapy today, this is confidentiality, um, things of that nature. We're gonna be discussing those today. So it would be good if people are interested, that people to know like how to get the support that they need. Right now, we are coming upon, I guess, after COVID, we'll be seeing a lot more. Well, not even will be seeing, but a lot more people will be requiring some mental health services because so many things will be changing, so many things will be happening, and so we just wanted to come on and kind of let people know how do you access the services, how what it means, what confidentiality looks like, what the ethics behind it are. Just trying to give you just the basics on being a part of the therapeutic process, or if you know someone who possibly needs the services, how you could help them, support them, go about getting the services that are needed. Um, so uh, feel free to ask questions, put questions in the question box, and we will make sure that that those questions are answered to the best of our abilities, and we'll find answers for them as well. So I guess we can decide that if we want to get started, we want to wait a few more minutes for other people. Um,
Yeah, maybe like a minute or two.
Okay, so we'll wait for another 2 minutes or so, and then we'll get started. But again, for anybody who's just tuning in, we're talking about therapy basics today. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is the last week of May, so we wanted to come on together, myself, Hope Gilchrist, and Dr. Kizzy Patrell. We're coming on. We're both licensed clinicians in the state of Maryland, and we are here just to provide some basics so that people who need the support can get the support that they need. So, like I said, we're waiting for a few more seconds, a few more minutes, and then we'll get going. If you have any questions, mental health related, please feel free to write them in the chat box, and we can address them while we're here if you'd like. If there's any question that have come to your mind that you've thought of when it comes to therapy or anything like that, please feel free to throw it out there, and we'll do our best to address it and ask those questions as we go on. So, if you want to, we can go ahead and just get started, and people can share it after it's over, and they can.
Yep. Actually, just reading something.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we the I guess the first question was that we put up there. I don't know how you want to start, but I put like kind of how do you get a therapist? Like what the process is of obtaining a therapist, getting a therapist. How do you find one? Because many people ask that question often. Like I need a therapist for my kid, or I need a therapist for myself or someone. So the question is, how do you get a therapist? What are some of the options? Some of the ways that you can go about getting services or support if you need them. And
Okay, I didn't see the question.
um,
You see, I can't see the
oh,
questions, but okay.
it's okay. It was
Okay.
in my own. It was a question in my own head that I just said out
Oh,
loud.
okay. I thought you
So
saw a question
yeah,
up there.
it was my plan. So something's happening.
For a second, and it
Oh,
just kind of
okay.
made that weird noise.
Yeah. Okay. Back.
Okay.
All right. So when we
So,
talk about we're talk. Go ahead. You can go first
hmm, you start.
if you want. Oh, okay. All right. Services. So if you suspect yourself or anyone else needs services, um, I would say one of the first things to do is check in with your insurance. So if you happen to have insurance, if you have medical insurance, check in with your insurance. They have providers that are connected to your insurance that will help you to get connected to a provider that is in your area that accepts your insurance. Now some providers may be full and things like that. I would say continue to look just like you would do if you were looking for a doctor. You would continue to look for that. Um, but I would say even to go a step further is if you happen to go and look for someone in your with that's a part of your insurance, and you can actually Google that person, and they may have a profile somewhere, something set up that would allow you to learn more about that person, to see if they connect to you, to see how they if they would be helpful to you and what your needs are. There are some therapists there's I would say pretty much there's a therapist out here that can fit every need that you would have, just whatever that need may be. If you want a spiritual person, if you want a Christian counselor, if you want somebody for children, for older adults, for aging adults, if you need someone for a specific or disorder that they specify in. There's probably someone out here to meet any community or any support that you would possibly need to get services. Um, I would also say, so let's say the other place I tell a lot of people to go is Psychology Today. A lot of people have profiles on Psychology Today that will just tell you what services they offer, how many years they've been in practice, and they tell you a little bit about themselves so that you can do the research that you need to select someone specific to you. And again, I always say that if you happen to come upon somebody, you choose them, you can actually even call a therapist and ask for a consult. And when you ask for a consult, that is, I just want to call you and see if I connect with you, if this works for us or if this doesn't work for us. Then you can actually to someone else if you feel like that's a disconnect for you. So you can feel free to do it that way as well. Um, but that's two ways to find a therapist. If you don't know how, or if you happen to need someone to help to get someone to help you to do it, find a support from a friend, family member. You can go to help you to kind of navigate that process. Savvy, maybe having someone help you out, asking them some questions about, about telling them about you and what you need, and seeing if they can kind of help. So there's a lot of ways that you can go about getting the support and the services that you need. There is I shared a thing on my page today, and there is a group that helps that they're going to be speaking tomorrow. And Dr. Patrell, I was going to get her to talk more about it when she comes back in, so because something happened to her screen, so it froze. But where there's a therapist specifically for Black women. If you happen to need the services, you can go that route as well. You can connect with that group, and they can connect you as well. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to connect her back in. So, um, So that's let's see, that's four different ways for you to be able to connect with a provider and get the therapeutic services that are needed. Um, I don't know if you had any other suggestions, Dr. Patrol, about how a person can go about getting therapy services.
Yes, I'm sorry. I got disconnected. Hold on. Here.
Uh oh.
Okay, we're going to try this again. Sorry, guys. This normally doesn't happen. Okay, so I'm back. Yeah, someone was calling in and I tried to decline it and I guess I lost the broadcast. So I posted earlier today about. Hold, I'm sorry. I keep hearing this.
It wasn't doing that a minute ago. Uh oh.
Hearing the echo, so it's not working.
Be
Hear me?
fine. Yes, we can hear you. You don't have an echo to us. Maybe in your ear. When you take them out, I don't know what's happening when you take them out.
I have an echo.
Don't take them out. When you take them out, it's going wacky.
Oh.
But we don't hear the echo.
It's so distracting. Okay, so earlier today I posted about black therapyforblackgirls.com. So that's another resource that people can use because I know many times some people would like to look for African American therapists, specifically female. And so Dr. Joy actually did a question and answer earlier today about resources and therapy. So it's a directory where people can kind of look and find the therapist of their choice, can look and see what they practice, what type of insurance they accept, if they accept online, face to face. So I think that will actually be a good resource. Also, the National Black Mental Health Alliance and the National Association for Mental Illness, they both can, well, they're both resources for people who may need services for therapy. And I'm hearing this horrible echo. You guys cannot hear it, but I can hear it, so it's really distracting. But therapyforblackgirls.com, National Black Health Alliance, and NAMI. Those are three resources that people can actually contact to find therapists of their choice.
Okay. So those are so at this point we've kind of given about six resources to finding them. There are also organizations and communities depending on like what situation you're dealing with. Like we said, there's all kinds of now we got this feedback. All right, there we go. Um, so there's all kinds of ways that you can find the resources that are needed when it comes to a therapist. So here's another option that people probably don't know. One of the most underused benefits sometimes with some of your employers is a lot of people have what's called an employee assistance program. And they also refer to it as EAP. When you first get a job, many times they give you your benefits package and then they give you this pamphlet with it and say you have an EAP if you happen to need it. And more times than not, people kind of don't focus on that because they don't know kind of what it is. But that service is another free service that's offered to you by your employer. So if you happen to not have like the copays or the money for like insurance and what the insurances may offer, you can use your employee assistance program, and that's a free service. And they usually offer like a smaller solution focused, short term type of help for you, and then they will help you to navigate and get you connected to somebody that may be offering a sliding scale or that's within your insurance network. But many people don't check into their EAPs. And your EAPs, let's talk about EAP. So yes, it is a job, it is something that is offered by your job. But if you use that service, they do not go back and report to your employer. Therapy is set up to be confidential. We have to be HIPAA compliant. So once you come, whether you're going through your EAP or anyway, that person is not to share your information with anyone else. So if you happen to use your EAP, your employer will not be able to get that information. They cannot call the EAP provider and say, what is Johnny, Janice, Tom coming to us for? That won't be. They can't come and ask those questions. So check into your employment if you have a if you wherever you're working, and find out if they have an EAP. If they have an EAP and you happen to be going through whatever the issue is, whether it's stress, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's a relationship, whether no matter what the issue is that you're having, you can check in with your EAP and possibly get the support services that you need. So benefits that people have. So make sure to check in with your employer so that you can see if and then the hours, it depends. So each organization is different. They even sometimes will let you go while you're supposed to be at work. Yes, that is right, Renita. I was just about to say that you can actually go with some of your organizations. You can go during your work hours. So let's say you say, I don't have time, but they will let you go. And a lot of EAPs will give you a verification that you came. Still not talking to your employer. You can actually be the one to hand them the paper and say, I was here, and you can still get paid for the time that you are seeing that. So you can, it's called like an on the clock session or on the clock, but it's still a confidential service. It's not something that reports back. Even if you are mandated by your job to see an EAP, they still cannot talk about what is talked about in your session. The only thing they can say is that you're meeting the goals of whatever they can say, but that you're coming, that you use the service, and that you did that part. That's the only thing that they're supposed to be reporting back in most cases. So knowing that the EAP is there, I really encourage people to check in with your organizations and see if you have an EAP. And again, it's no money out of pocket because it's a part of your benefits package. Most places it has nothing to do with whether or not you have the health insurance, because it lets some people do work jobs that don't have health insurance, but they still may have an EAP. And more times than not, the EAP is just a part of what you get for working for the organization. It doesn't have to do with the healthcare benefits insurance package. So I want to make sure that people know that your EAP exists. And when we talk about like moving into what they can tell and what they can't tell, let's move into confidentiality. Confidentiality is exactly what it sounds like. HIPAA is definitely something that protects your information. It protects what you, all of that information that you have. HIPAA is there to protect that from going to someone else, being shared with anyone else. We can't. So as a therapist, if someone were to call me, if you were to get your aunt to call me and say, hey, how's her therapy going? I would actually say, Renita who, or someone who, because at that point I can't verify, I can't deny, or I can't say you were there or not, because it's your service. So I can't speak to your mother, I can't speak to your daddy unless you're a kid under the age of 14, and then even then there's the 14-year-old has some privacy rights as well. Confidentiality more times than not is only supposed to be broken when you are a threat to yourself or someone else. When you say, I'm going to kill Johnny today, then of course we have to break confidentiality, because we can't let you kill Johnny today. We also can't let you kill yourself today. So there's times where if you come in and you say, you come in, you say, I want to hurt myself. If you're home and you're sending me a message and you're saying, I want to hurt myself right now, I may send the police to your house to do a wellness check. You can send the police to somebody's house to do a wellness check for those reasons. If someone is continuously saying, I want to hurt myself, I want to hurt myself. And I want people to think about that as family too, because sometimes we want to protect our family members as well who are going through things. And we look at things like, oh, well, they're just trying to get attention. And, and sometimes, okay, they might be trying to get attention, but let's address that attention. Let's give them that attention in the sense of a medical provider, a professional, someone that can be helpful to them. If they're always saying, I just don't want to live no more, I don't want to be here, and things like that. So you may have to give them the attention that they're asking for. But again, so let's say something happens to you and you're in the hospital and your family member wants to call and say, hey, this person is in the hospital. Can you give me what they've been working on? No. So again, confidentiality is kept in all aspects of that, even down to court. When it comes to court, only a judge can subpoena records and ask what asks about your personal information. And then even then, there's certain things that are not going into the courtroom. It has to be specific to what's being asked by a judge. So knowing that some people have issues with going to counseling because they fear that people will know, your employer may know, your friends may know, somebody may find out, but there's a confidential aspect that is kept to that. It's even more confidential, to be honest, if when you pay out of pocket, if you happen to go to counseling, therapy, or any of those things, and you decide to pay out of pocket, then your records are then it's a different process that has to be happening. Yes, that person keeps records, but it doesn't go to an insurance company, because for billing purposes, you do have to send a diagnosis to an insurance company for them to pay you. You can't just say, I'm seeing them, but I can't tell you what I'm seeing them for, but you want them to pay us. So you do have to send, for billing purposes, a diagnosis that is to you, to an insurance company. So you have to note that is something, but it's not like the insurance company. We don't send your bills. We don't send all of those things at that time to the insurance company. We don't send anything that's going on in your therapeutic process and things like that, but they can audit charts. And in that, they just want to make sure that you're following your treatment plans and that what we're billing for is what we're doing. But again, there's a confidential piece to it. But if you do pay out of pocket, those are things that you don't have to risk. So it depends on how you want to do it, because that can be an expensive way versus having to pay a copay. So it just depends on how you want your information to be. But we definitely encourage you to take one of those routes to seek the support for yourself, for your family, when it comes to getting the therapeutic services that are needed. So I wanted to make sure that I took today. So when we talk about, since all month I've been talking about stigma and how it's related to mental health. Some of the things that come through when we talk about stigma is confidentiality. Even for sometimes for military people, we've had them say in the past that they didn't seek therapy because they didn't want anybody to find out. And they didn't want their records to go to someone so they know what they've been diagnosed with. And so since we're trying to, so my goal was to let people know that your information when you go into a therapist is not something that's shared with a lot of people. And it has to be a strict, like really court ordered situation where your information can be shared with anyone else. And then again, it's also probably very limited in scope as to what's to be shared. So that portion of the stigma, I want to make sure that we kind of hash that out as well, so that we know that we're aware that it's the confidentiality piece. So, my goal today for Thoughtful Thursdays is to make sure that people know the ways to get the therapeutic services, know that they're out here for everyone. Again, for whatever community, whatever situation you want, there's a therapist that exists for that. But we also want to make sure that we know that the confidentiality exists and that people aren't, the information is for you. But let's talk about boundaries as well, because sometimes people don't understand what the boundaries are. That understanding that, your therapist is your therapist, and that's what they're there for. But they're not necessarily there to be a friend or an acquaintance. So you can't, because sometimes people do this. They'll go request their therapist as a friend on a social media, or they'll go, but there's a boundary. So it's not that your therapist is ignoring you. It's not that they, so when I go to therapy, everything's fine, but when I'm somewhere else, they don't. That's not the case. There's a boundary, there's an ethical line that's not supposed to be crossed as far as that goes. So when people are requesting that their providers or their friends on social media, it's something that's just unethical. And or if you see them in public, they may not speak, but they may not speak unless you speak. But and everybody that's there won't know what you got speaking, because you can find and you can see people anywhere and know them from all kinds of places. So they may not speak, but again, a head nod or acknowledgement, but they're supposed to continue to have that ethical boundary that goes along with having the therapeutic service that exists. So I'm trying to just check and make sure that I've included everything that my goal was to talk about today. Does anybody have any? I know we have some people that are still watching, some specific questions, thoughts that they want me to elaborate a little further on. or anything of that nature. I'm kind of wait around to see if any of that comes through. But the biggest goal is to encourage people to take your mental health serious and understand that, if you don't take care of your head, your body's going to fall apart just as well. And I know that I've said that before and I continue to say that, but it's really the truth. And so since there's been so much stigma over the years of if you go, you're crazy, or if something is wrong, something is wrong with you if you use the service, just please take that away. I've had so many people say that before they started therapy, they didn't know what they were doing, but therapy has saved their lives. So I just want people to know that. And that is a good question because that was on my list to talk about. Renita, can your friend be your therapist? No. People, so, it's interesting because I'm glad you brought that up because I've had people to come to me and say, well, I have a friend who's going through this, da 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 da, and they lean on me all the time, and I'm there for them, but I can't do what they need. And so, how do I talk to this person about getting some other services? Or they start to ignore calls and things like that. So, what I say to people is talk to them and encourage them to talk to a professional. And of course, I give them the words to do that. But so sometimes people don't realize that they try to get their friend to answer questions that they could probably resolve while they're in the therapeutic process, which is probably the best place to put that information. So no, and your friends, to be honest, more times than not, they have limited experience with coming to you from a professional level. They're going to come to you from a place of, I love you, so I'm going to give you advice from that level. Not necessarily it could be good advice. It could be not so good advice. So it's understanding the level in which they are coming to you and knowing that you're not the professional. So right now, if I'm telling you, like I've seen people say, at different times even on social media, well, I have friends who are depressed or who are going through, and I just tell them just sleep it off. That is not the answer. That is your loving answer as your friend and trying to be there for someone, but that's not the resolve for someone who's dealing with depression. The levels that go along with that internal depression can be unsafe if it's too significant. So it's important to, like the question you asked, to note that no, my friend cannot necessarily be my therapist. I need to connect with someone that is a professional because we don't always give the best advice. And I go back to this one as well. We can have Jesus and a therapist too. So, and again, there are Christian therapists that exist. If you happen to be someone who feel like, I'm just going to pray to God, understanding that if you pray, you can pray to God, God, I need you to help me through this problem. And he sits a therapist right beside you. And that's a moment that you can connect with that therapist. But because we don't see God sitting right in front of us and being the one to solve the problem, we don't understand. But we trust God to, we like when we about to go on surgery, we pray over the doctor's hands and make sure that the doctor's hands are going to heal our bodies and for ask God to work through people. Same thing when you're talking to a mental health provider, when you're talking to a therapist. You just go and you pray, God, can you speak through them to me to help me to get to where I need to be? Because I want to be in my best space too. We function in our best mental space. So if we're not in a healing place again up here, then we are not in a place here. So we have to understand that there's multiple ways in which you can get with a therapist. But and again, there's someone that will service most people that are having different issues. So again, I encourage people to go ahead and seek out the professional support that exists because it's out here for people to have. And again, right now during this pandemic, there's so many people that are faced with anxiety, that are faced with depression, who may need some mental health support and who may not get it, or who's feeling alone, who's feeling isolated. And there are supports out here. There's some people doing pro bono services. There are people doing sliding scale services if you can't financially afford it. So there's a lot of different ways to access the support that's out here. So I want to make sure that people are definitely connecting to people around them. And if you don't have the courage, maybe having somebody do it. Understanding also, if you happen to be a parent of a 21-year-old or a 24-year-old or 22-year-old, you cannot, unfortunately, make an appointment for them. They have to make an appointment for themselves, because we get calls from parents to say, I want to make an appointment for my son. I want to make an appointment for my daughter. Well, again, you can't make that. Once they hit the age of 18, which is age of consent, you can't make that appointment for them. They have to. Now, you can sit there with them, encourage them, call it on the phone, do whatever you need to do as a parent to get them to make that appointment, but you cannot legally make that appointment for them. They have to be the one to make that appointment for themselves. So, let's see, what else? The other thing about, okay, so okay, I'm reading Dr. Patel's, her phone, her situation was acting up, so she's kind of throwing some comments in to the comment box if you. So I was just kind of reading that to see what she wanted to say, so I can make sure that everybody's getting the information that goes on with that. She said the same thing. Your friends cannot be your therapist because we're biased. Same thing we said. Let's see. Okay, so basically, we can look in the comments and see other things that people, again, if you have questions, you can throw them out there as well. But I also want to talk to parents about your children. When you have children who need mental health services, it is so much better to start them early. Not be afraid of, like we talked about last week, a following your kid and things like that. Because again, once they hit age 18, I've seen it happen working in the schools. That's when and things start to amp up, and their emotions and feelings and start. You can't go take them to the hospital. You can't, those things you cannot do. They have to sign themselves in and sign themselves out. They can sign themselves in and sign themselves out. So if we miss the opportunity because we didn't want our kid to experience this at this age, or we didn't want to have a stigma connected to it, or we didn't want people to know, then know that it can be doing more of a disservice to your children than not getting them the support that they need very early on and at younger ages. Because again, there's supports out here. There are people who are out here to support you, your kids, and not being embarrassed if you have a kid who needs some support. Get the support that you need for your kid. And if you feel like you need support for yourself because your kid is getting the support, then get that support as well. So kids need mental health services and supports just as well as adults do. And, I encourage people, especially during this time, to talk to your kids, to ask them how they're doing, because their mental health are not necessarily okay right now either, with having to be in and not move and not do anything and not socialize with their peers. So it's a lot of things that are happening with kids right now that they need support as well. And as Dr. Patrol said, there's services for adult children, but it's harder to get services after they've had all this time where where people have pretty much dropped the ball and made a decision that they didn't want to do what was helpful when it came to their kids. So, and it's not always about, because I hear people say, I don't want to take my kid because I don't want them to get thrown on medication or, things like that. That's not always the case. And know that I personally don't believe that kids always need medication. Do I believe that in life sometimes we may need something, but there's still an action or something that a therapist can support them through that they can do and they can take some accountability for and work through. What you may see as traumatizing for you may be different than what your kid sees as something that's traumatizing. So, for you going and slamming the door and having an argument and all of that may be fine because it's what you're used to. But your kid is like, that's a problem. And then you start noticing they're silent or they're quiet. So these are just an example of things that kids could potentially be going through and they don't share as much. So it's just basically making sure that we take care of our kids' mental health as well as we take care of ours. And you find a therapist for a kid the same way you would find a therapist for an adult. If you go into one of those sites or in one of those rooms that we discussed earlier, you can put in specifies working with children ages 3 to 10, working with kids ages 14 to 16. So there, like I said, there are a lot of services that could be of support and not necessarily harm like people are assuming. And again, right now, and I go back to this because it's current and it's present, we are seeing a lot of things that are traumatizing. So we definitely need to just be checking in with people and just making sure that everybody is okay. And my goal today on this Thoughtful Thursday is to make sure that everybody's checking in and doing the best that they can. And so it's like we need to just make sure that we take the time to take care of ourselves, take care of other people, and do not be embarrassed about having to seek support from a therapist. It's the most non-judgmental way to get the support that you need, because that's what we're there for. We're there to listen. When you say, I don't want to go to that friend, I'm always going to them, I'm always talking, I'm not going to worry about it, I'll handle it myself, it's okay. Try it. Again, if you happen to get someone you don't like, then that's okay. You don't have to like them. You switch off, go to someone else, because you get the liberty to do that. Same thing you do with your doctor. I really want people to start to understand the importance of your physical and your mental health. And I know I say that a lot, but people don't take their mental health as serious as their physical health. Like I said, when we talk about cuts that bleed and all those things, we go get that taken care of real quick. But when we bleeding inside, we just don't. And so during this month of May, I have just felt like I needed to pour into people that you got to do what needs to be done to take care of yourself and take care of your mental health. Because some of your physical ailments, some of that weight gain, some of them stomach aches, some of them headaches, all of that stuff could very well be related to your mental health. It could be connected to that 12-year-old child in you that experienced some trauma. And as an adult, they're still functioning and living based off of that because they haven't been able to heal and find the proper ways to deal with that. It could be something, that happened a year ago. It could be a car accident that you just, all of a sudden your anxiety is just on 10, but you can't connect the dots. You don't recognize that it's the car accident that makes me jumpy. So we connect it to something else. So it's so many things that could be happening that you could get from a therapeutic process to help you process things that you don't even know that exist, that things are out here. So again, I would say try it out. And I don't want you to cancel it out because you feel like, I tried it and it didn't work. Because again, if you go to the doctor and you tell them your stomach hurt and they don't give you the right answer, you're going back and you may go to a different one to find out. So we want to not cast out this idea that therapists are there, like they used to say, that, to shrink you, to, all of those things, because that's not what this is about. This is about healing and helping people. And in certain communities, we focus less on making sure our mental health is taken care of because we want to take care of our families. We want to take care of everything. We want to keep it private. But, people hurt in private. People, all those things happen in private. And then, people hurt themselves in private. We want to prevent all of that and to start taking care of ourselves. I think that is kind of what I'm here for tonight. Again, if you happen to have any questions, you can definitely throw them in the comment box. And if you want to know how to specifically find some support, get what you need, yet once again, you can ask those questions and we are here. I'm hoping I covered everything that we could have covered for this evening. I didn't want to keep long. I didn't do my video because I knew this would be a little bit longer than my normal 6-minute video. But I wanted to make sure that we covered all of those things, and that to end Mental Health Awareness Month, for me, I'm actually going to probably continue Thoughtful Thursdays, maybe once a month, so that at that point we can make sure that we're still talking about mental health. We're keeping it live. We're taking the steps to make sure that we keep mental health live, and we talk about some of the things that are coming up. I want to make sure that we're making sure that happens throughout the next months to come. So it'll be something that I will continue to do, just not every Thursday, but at least once a month. I will be coming to talk about mental health so that we can make sure that we're taking care of that the best that we can. So to wrap up the month of May, like I said, stomp out the stigma. If you yourself, if you, someone else you know, your family, anyone, dealing with anything that has to do with mental health, or you believe that they may be having a mental health issue, and or you're talking to a friend who's always calling you about something, encourage them to seek out a professional. It doesn't have to be encouraged in a negative way. It doesn't have to be said, you got to go see somebody. You need to go talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be said that way either. It could very well be saying, I'm here for you. I appreciate you coming to me, but I really think that you would be best served if you saw someone that is a professional, because they could help you work through this better than I can, but I'm still here for you. So that's a different way. That's a different approach to helping a friend to get the support that they need, and making sure that, again, the resources are here. You can always come back to this video and know that these are the different ways that I talked about getting a therapist, confidentiality, all of those things are ways that you guys can get the support that you need. So I'm really hoping that going forward, people really take their mental health serious, and understanding that the therapists are here. They're out here. They're just like the frontline workers in a hospital. We're frontline, and we got you. There's enough of us out here to serve you, and there's people that look like you that are here and want to help you and want to be a part of your healing process, because it feels so good to be healing. If I could have some people to do testimonials, that would be great. But of course, I can't do that because that's not legal. So again, I talked about ethics. I talked about boundaries. But if people want to share their own stories in the comments, that's fine. But just know that therapy can be very healing, and it's very helpful to just living your daily life and trying to wonder why things happen certain ways in your life, to just work on yourself and get where you need to be. So thank you for tuning in to Thoughtful Thursdays with Hope during Mental Health Awareness Month. Look forward to checking in with you in the month of June. I haven't picked a Thursday yet, but you will know ahead of time. So please share. Please continue talking about mental health. Please continue encouraging your friends and your family to get the services that they need. And if you have any questions, comments, you can inbox me. You can leave them here. But I'm here if you happen to need me. Thank you for tuning in. Please, like I said, mental health is here. Mental health support is here. Have a good evening, everyone.